Hey everybody, welcome back to another film of the week. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me, my voice is a little bit lower. Family is asleep, going on at 11 o'clock at night. So just trying to keep my voice a little bit lower. In editing, I'll make sure to crank up the volume just so you guys can hear me. But um, I'm also going to keep this rather short and sweet just so I don't wake up any family or anything like that. But also, I'm just pretty, definite in how I feel about this. Um, that film that we're going to be talking about this week is High Life, which was co-written and directed by Claire Dennis, who you guys may know we've discussed before on this channel in her most notable film, Beau Travail, which I like. I wouldn't say it's the masterpiece that some people would label it as, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Um, for some of the stylistic choices and overall tonal craftsmanship. Um, we now go into High Life, which stars Robert Pattinson as well as Mia Goth and a couple of other players that I'm not that familiar with. Um, they are a bunch of criminals, and they are, as punishment, or at least, as an option rather than a life sentence in prison, they are thrown on a space mission where they are heading towards a black hole and embark forward for scientific research and experiments and such. And through this journey, they are kept in heavy isolation, and of course, while traveling to this black hole, which by the frame of the film, it takes about a good many years, maybe by estimate like a good 10 years. Um, so it becomes very isolating, and um, there's willpower at play here by all of the crew members, specifically by their hormonal sense. Their sex drive is high. They're wanting to get together. They're wanting to do things, but everyone is to remain, in their own place. They're not meant to do anything. The lady who kind of runs the show is kind of trying to keep everything intact while also trying to keep her mentality strong as well. And ultimately, uh, without spoiling anything, what occurs is the birth of a child. And Robert Pattinson, who ends up being the last survivor of his crew, takes upon himself to take care of the baby, raise it, and to raise it as like it's like his daughter. So, and ultimately, that's what the film is about. Is about mentalities, willpower, and the struggles within isolative circumstances. And what you get from it is twofold. One is a very apparent influence, tonally speaking. It's a film that owes a great deal to Solaris, the original Solaris. It very much is inspired by it, tonally speaking, in that it has this very subtle and very quiet nature to it that, there's also like this emphasis on the this ship in general, the passage of time within Pacific cut, like the way the film's cutted. It reminds you a lot of Solaris in the nature that it chooses to place itself in, um, and with that you get a tone that is both comforting but also unnerving, in that there's a doubt at play in the motivation of the characters that you're watching, which is played up very well. It's not just for dramatic effect. There is that subtle um, tension that is buried beneath this tone, and thus you're not fully trusting of any character that you're watching, which creates for more investment and more intrigue. For another, I think it's aesthetically interesting. I love just space in general, so obviously I'm gonna get a kick out of just the the looks of the black hole and the ship in general. Again, like aesthetically, also just like by production design, it is heavily inspired by Solaris, just by the look of the ship inside, the hallways. Like it very much is inspired by Solaris and very much owes a lot of its the building of its environment and just the literal look of its environment. It owes a great deal to Solaris, and with its aesthetics, with its tones, you find yourself in some fair levels of engagement. And also, just one funny thing I noted is that the ship itself kind of looks like a photo camera to me. I don't know why. It just looks like, just kind of like like some kind of blocky, just, you know, like, stiff like thing. Um, which I must say that the word for, that word stiff would be the word I would describe about the performances. Um, they all operate within a certain tempo, and Mia Goth, I would say, is kind of the standout because she kind of distance from that sort of flare where everybody else is kind of orbiting in that same space where they're just always talking like this. And it's just, like I would have liked a little more variety in terms of performances. Thankfully, Mia Goth, being Mia Goth, is able to stand out. I mean, I really like her just in general. Um, but for another, I think that while tonally speaking, it has a lot going for it, and aesthetically, it is interesting. What it lacks is that thematic heft and that emphasis on thematic quality, because it runs rather thin, rather quickly. It is pretty much spelled out to you in the first like 10 or 15 minutes, so you pretty much understand what is at play here, and it's ultimately just a dragging of such ideas and a lingering sense of such ideas. Instead of becoming more impactful and more weightful, it just kind of becomes more thin as time goes on. And there's at some points, graphic, like it gets points very graphic. There's actually 2 rape sequences in the film, which I should bear warn you, if you're going to watch this movie, just be, if you're not willing to stomach that sort of thing, I couldn't. I block out those kinds of scenes. So, but I think it goes without explaining. Um, but but yeah, it pushes towards certain visual fronts and is trying to build in a certain way, but it just it's interesting more by how it feels, but not necessarily in what it's saying. And with that, I found myself engaged, but only by the aura, the energy that it bears, and visually what it bears, but less so with its performances and overall thematic sense, due to just the awareness of its themes at the beginning and just that overall awareness throughout. And my kind of distance, my distance with the ensemble in general, because of that lack of variety and also that lack of just knowledge of characters. They're just kind of just plot points, they're just kind of just there just to fill the drama, and less so with giving distinct personalities. I mean, there's really just 3. I mean, there's Art Pattinson, who's just kind of the closed off person. Mia Goth, who is, without giving anything away, she is the tortured one, we shall say. And then there's this black dude who's like kind of like that middle ground. He's like kind of, he's more of like that chill, relaxed sort of figure. That figure who's just kind of going with the flow, just like, yeah, whatever. So it's a little like, Lord of the Flies, a lot like Solaris, very much Solaris. And, with those influences there and just what it's bearing tonally, there is some interest to be had, and there is some engagement there, and there is some investment as a result. But it is all in what is crafted in what is being orbited around the story, and less so to do with the actual narrative itself and the thematic ideas that it is bearing. And I must say also, like, at some point, also some unnecessary exaggeration. As I said, there's like an emphasis on like sex drive in the film, and without saying anything, but there's like a sex room, and it's like, I'm not sure if we needed those elements there. Like, it just seemed a little out of place. It actually made me laugh more than anything, but I think that's more for like the artsy fartsy type thing. But I also liked the homage to Beau Travail with the exercise montage. I kind of caught that visual reference to Beau Travail, so that was nice. But yeah, overall, I think that High Life works more in what is orbiting around the film and less so to do with the actual story itself, because of the knowledge that you have at the beginning, and just that knowledge being such a dominance, and less so with the intrigue within the lingering sensibilities of said themes. Like I said, it doesn't become more waveful, it just becomes more thin. And your interest is there, but not really, It's halfway there, So, but I can't say I hate it. I can't say that I was bored. All I can say is that I just wasn't interested really in the story. I was more interested in just the overall energy of the film. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on High Life. I thought it was fine, but it had the potential to be a lot better if it was more narratively interesting, more thematically interesting, to match that intrigue, that interest that I had with its tone, the atmosphere, the visuals. If it were to match how I felt with those elements, then obviously it would be something really, really great and really, really impactful. But what we get is something okay, and that's as far as I'll take it. So, but those are my thoughts on High Life. You guys know your thoughts on High Life if you guys have seen it. Again, bear warning, very graphic images in the film. Just be aware when you go into to the end of the film. There's like multiple sequences of like very of rape and stuff like that. Just just be cautious if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, and just not wanting to stomach that sort of thing. Believe me, I block those images out when they happen. So believe me, I totally understand if you're not willing to stomach that sort of thing. So, but you guys want your thoughts on High Life and just Claire Denis in general as a filmmaker. If you guys have seen Beau Travail, I'll actually leave a link to my review to Beau Travail right here. Yeah, so that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.